Welcome to Spotlight Hustle. My name is Natalia Nicholson and today I am here with the beautiful Akua. Akua is from Dreamcatcher Global and she's built a brilliant travel community taking women all over the world to find themselves. But before I jump into it and start explaining her business, I'd just like you to introduce yourself and just tell everybody your name, what you do, and just a little bit more about yourself.
All right, so my name's Akua. There's a story behind that involves travel. It was a name that was gifted to me in 2019 in central Ghana, and it means helper and leader. And as you can hear from my accent, I am UK born and bred. Hey, and I'm back in the UK, and the weather's a little bit grim, but I'm here, and I'm glad to be here. I actually live in Abu Dhabi. I've been living in Abu Dhabi for about 12 years, and wow, there's been such a lot that's happened, but I've left the corporate world. My background was in human resources, and I decided to follow my heart, follow my passion, and travel is one of my biggest passions. I've been to 85 countries, still learning, 86 coming up very soon. And yeah, through my own experiences of feeling pretty stuck and, confined to the sort of security of my corporate world, I recognised that travel was a real catalyst for me in terms of helping me to cultivate the courage to make those life-changing decisions that had led me to start my beautiful company, Dreamcatcher Global, where I take women on outer adventures and inner journeys.
So, guess what? What got me the most about what you said that I resonated with, and I don't know if it's going to be the same for you, being stuck there. I've spent most of my life having that feeling, and actually travel's the one thing that saved me. I always feel like I need that something to look forward to. And anytime that I travel or there's travel plans in place, it always makes me feel like, I'm going to come down, I'm going to be able to reset my batteries, get more focused and get to where I want to be. There's something about travel that just rejuvenates me and makes me feel like, it's like Duracell, the bunny. It makes me feel like when I get back, I'm going to go for it. But it's also being able to see other people, other cultures, and it makes me more humble. It makes me appreciate things.
Absolutely.
So it's funny that you said that. So I want to talk a little bit about being stuck. Because ladies, I think there's many of you that follow this community that understand that stuck feeling. That feeling of, how am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to be there for my children? Is this really going to happen for me? I've been trying and I'm not getting anywhere that I need to get. We're in this tech world, this constant upskilling of understanding how to use softwares and, algorithms of social media. It's just really overwhelming. And sometimes I do think as black women, I do think as second and third generation, you do feel like, is this actually really going to happen for me? Does it happen for people like me? Can I get to that place? So just in terms of that feeling unstuck, I'd just like to unravel that a bit and just talk about, how Dreamcatcher, I get a feeling it was born out of helping those of us that are stuck.
Absolutely. And for me, Dreamcatcher is literally like my own story. I've used my own experience to really find a way to help empower other women to cultivate courage, because that's what a lot of it is about. Because, fear is that thing that everyone experiences, and we all have our dreams and desires and aspirations, and some people just have them, whilst they would love to obtain them. But then there's all of these what ifs, right? It's the uncertainty, right? And uncertainty about something that hasn't even happened yet. Right?
Yeah, when you put it like that.
It hasn't even happened yet.
But you're preempting.
Exactly.
And the thing is, we are not born with fear. Fear is actually taught to us, and I think that's something that many of us actually need to start understanding.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a negative energy.
Absolutely. And I think it's about changing your relationship with fear, because no matter what, there is a part of us that, I guess, back in the caveman days, right, where it's kind of like flight or fight, right? So there was kind of this inherent fear that would come up because it's a life-threatening situation, right? But in today's, I guess, place where we are right now, there is no life-threatening stuff, but we still carry this stuff for like little things
compared to life and death.
Oh my God, right? So it's really about finding a way to help us change our relationship with fear, to recognize that, beyond fear is possibility.
Yeah.
Over the other side, that's kind of the comfort zone, because that's what all of it is. We're stuck in our comfort zone. We're scared of all. For me, I've moved from the UK,
which is a big move.
A really great job. I was climbing the ranks in my career. Great tax-free salary because I'm in Abu Dhabi, the UAE. So I had all of the trappings of success.
I love that, the trappings, because actually many of us wouldn't look at that as trappings, by the way. We look at that as that's an amazing opportunity you had. Yeah, no, lucky you.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, for a while I felt that way, but then what I realized is, you know, as I got older and I recognized that, you know, this isn't me anymore. Like I'm evolving and I'm growing, and but I'm still allowing myself to be contained because of the money, the status, all of those things that actually, when I think about it, they're not following my heart. It's kind of all coming from up here and that societal kind of expectation and condition that you're doing great. It's a great job. Like, why would you want to leave it? But like inside, I was like, no, I'm just, something isn't right. And COVID, actually, I mean, COVID was a difficult time for us all.
Actually, yeah. COVID got you to kind of realise where you were and where you wanted to go. Yeah. And that must have been quite isolating for you, actually, being in another country by yourself. It's another part of being stuck. So how did COVID help you become unstuck, do you think?
For me, I think it was time and space that I had to really go inward. So I think, you know, pre-COVID, we're all out there running around, chasing stuff, you know, not enough time in the day. And all of a sudden now, and I live on my own, so when it's locked down for me, I'm locked down on my own. And, you know, I had a choice. I could have said to myself, okay, this is going to be really difficult, and I'm just going to spend my time worrying, concerned, watching the news and all of that stuff that's happening. Or I can use this as a bubble of creativity, a bubble for me to create a shift. And actually, I know I want to leave my job. Let me start doing some of the inner work, because that's where it all started. Like, we all have these ambitions, but for me, the foundation is, let me start by working on myself.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And see, that's something that I've actually found quite difficult working on myself. I think I'm busy in myself with so many other stuff, my own dreams, other people's dreams. I think as women, we're natural born nurturers, aren't we? So we tend to always take other people's energy and problems on board in our immediate circle. And we're trying to help everybody. But sometimes, I don't know what you say to me, if you can't help yourself, you can't help nobody else. You have to be able to help yourself first. So in terms of, okay, I'm here, I'm going to get my creativity on. What did that look like for you? Like, what did you start doing in that time? Like,
wow.
Because obviously that was the lead up to your business kind of being
Absolutely. So for me, and I remember having a conversation with you a while ago, and I'm not too sure if you remember, but I started to create a miracle morning. So I read the book, or I listened to the podcast, or the audio book by Hal Rock, I think his name is.
By the way, I'm going to put this link in the bio. If you have not read Miracle Morning, you need to go and get yourself a copy, and it's something that you need to follow. That changed my life as well. Definitely.
All of those principles, I still live them today. So
I struggle with the exercise one, but
you're doing it.
It's a bit more consistent.
Exactly. But you know, for me, it was about stillness, because I was always busy. My job was very kind of high profile, very stressful, I have to say. And so when I got home a lot of the time, there was no room for me to kind of go inward. It was just like, let me breathe now. And then before you know it's bedtime, and I'm, you know, and then it all starts tomorrow. So with the Miracle Morning, I created like a beautiful morning where I started with meditation, and I never meditated before. I tried. And
how long did you meditate for? Because your brain's as busy as mine.
Well, you know what? No, I did meditate for a while, and I welcome the thoughts as well, because I think we have this perception that, you know, meditation is like zero thoughts. Meditation is about awareness, right? And about knowing when those thoughts are coming in, being aware of them, and then letting them just slide by, you know? But for me, I tried the meditation before. But I thought, let me try it again. And I started off with 1 minute. And with Headspace, with the apps, 1 minute.
I had to do the same, by the way, ladies. For me, I'm literally meditating. I'm thinking, should I take the meeting to dinner tonight? Oh my gosh, what time? I must get the earlier trains. I'm just thinking of everyday things, but you're right. You've got to let your mind go, and you've really got to embrace all the feelings and emotions that you actually want and desire, and make that primary. Because as women, we push our own needs right to the back. Everybody's needs are forward. You know, you're thinking about dinner because you're feeding it.
Constant. Constant, you know. And so that meditation, and then I started journaling, and again I tried that many a times. I got maybe 3 days into journaling, 4 days, and then I was off again. It's like, forget it, I can't do this. So that, and then using space to listen to podcasts, to read books, to start to just kind of, okay, let me check these things out. And you know, when I'd listen to something, it would lead me to another thing, because that person would reference that person, and before you knew it, I was opening up myself to this new world that I hadn't been, you know, aware of.
Yeah. I have to say, this is really refreshing doing this podcast today, because actually, I would say my path followed a similar suit. I just didn't realise it until now, till I'm speaking to you, if you want me to be honest with you. Books played a huge part in my mindset and getting to understand myself and how I would move forward. And I don't think I realised how much it did influence me until you was just like, listen to podcasts, books. Miracle Morning was life-changing. So we're going to have a little challenge. Best 5 books that you read. So I'd say one of mine, between us, we have to come up with a top 10.
Oh, God.
One of mine, believe it or not, is Think Rich, Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Like, I read that over and over again. We've got Miracle Morning. You're going to find these on the bio on the screen as well. One other book, would you say, was...
There are so many.
I know. There are a lot. I just finished reading. I'm an audiobook lover, by the way. If I'm in the car on the train. But for about the 5th time, I read 7 Successful Habits of Highly Successful People.
Yes, so 7 Habits. That's actually one of them. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
And one of the things, imagine that, you can read a book that you can miss so much, always go back and revisit books that touch you. So it started to talk about mission statements. And that's when I realised within my household, I need to make sure we're all working towards the same mission. So I think I came up with, I want to create wealth, to be healthier, to help others.
I love that.
So the wealth is a way for me to be more healthy, make sure that I'm eating from the ground that God gave us, because now I've got resource to be able to help. I've got a team. Being more healthier, being fitter, being able to think sharp and live longer means that I now get to help other people. So and it's really funny. Since then, my focus is now focused around, okay, is that actually fulfilling my mission?
Wow.
Because shiny object syndrome is real. But what we're going to do for you ladies is we're going to put in the bio a top 10.
Let's do that.
We're going to put a top 10 list of books together.
There's a lot.
5 for both of us, because there is a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're anything like me, a lot of times I'll read something, then you ask me to repeat the title or who wrote it. I can't remember. Memory loss is real.
What's the that one?
But there are some, and I do feel like that is where it started, and you do need to start with your own mindset.
Absolutely. And you know what, that shifted me to do a lot of reading in terms of just the way the brain works, right? So I've done a lot, I've kind of gone down this path back in school, like when it came to science or physics, chemistry, and all of those. Not interested.
Same here.
Not interested.
No, I'm working technology. Irony.
It goes to show. I think it's the way we're taught, to be honest.
Yes, definitely.
Right? So for me, there's a lot of discovery about areas that I just think about as a child that I had no interest in whatsoever. And now I've got this real curiosity. But I feel like right now, curiosity is almost like one of my values. Like I have to be curious, because for me, curiosity is about seeing the world through a new lens, being exposed to new things. So I love that. But going back to your point, that whole Miracle Morning, and now I started that the 28th of September 2019. I remember the day. I absolutely remember the day. And I have X amount of journals today. I still get up, I meditate. Meditation for me is, if I don't meditate, I'm not feeling grounded for the day. I'm missing out on something. So I've really had to do that inner work on myself to be able to say, you know what? And the travels as well. I've done some stuff, climbed volcanoes and all kind of crazy things. And
So what led you to those crazy things? So we're fixing our mindset now. We know we want to get our dreams. We know like we're in this high profile job. You're in Abu Dhabi. You're absolutely rocking it. We've known each other for a while. So often when I talk about you, it's like, my friend in Abu Dhabi, she's doing this, she's doing that, she's doing that. Because your life just, even times gone to visit you, your life just looks so brilliant. So we're kind of thinking, I want to do my own thing. Then COVID hits. Then it's like, okay, I've got to get my mind right because I want to do this. So you was travelling within that time.
Yeah, I was one of those ruthless people. Like, I mean, obviously I took all the precautions that needed to be taken, but I was somebody that I couldn't be contained. So where I was able to travel, I would. And, people had things to say about that, but I did what I needed to do to keep myself safe. And here I am, safe. And, through COVID, some of my travels were just amazing, which just led me to things like mentoring a group of young people in Botswana. I mean, the curiosity that I have. And for me, I'm always looking for experiences that are very much kind of off the beaten track. So I don't necessarily I can't go down the tourist route. I mean, don't get me wrong, if I go to a city, I'll do things, but
But tourists don't really see a country, so you don't want to go down
I
the
don't want
tourist
to
route.
do it.
Because all you ever do is you get presented to you whatever it is that tourist board would like you to see, and the perception that you have in the
program.
yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So I'm one of those ones who like take me as remote and as far from normal or usual as possible, and through that the experiences that I've had and opened myself up to, and a lot there's been fear.
I can imagine.
Some of these things I've done like solo, but for me there's this drive, this curiosity, and a lot of it goes back for me to connection. I want to be able to connect with the local culture. I want to be able to connect with people on a level that I couldn't do if I was perhaps in one of those usual touristy places. And for me, there might be a language barrier, but this smile it breaks all barriers, you know. And so I can sit down with people and literally nod and hug. No language, but there's an understanding, a real deep respect, and they're happy that I've taken the time out to come visit them because people don't.
In the middle of the hemispheres.
People don't. They say people don't come here. No,
I know you did like that.
People don't come here. And at times that's kind of sad in a way because, you know, they're amazing people. But again, there's a fear from other people that, you know, we're told where to go, not, you know, where to go and where not to go and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of fear mongering. So I've been to places that people are like, what have you been to? Iraq? You've been to Sudan?
I've always wanted to go to these places. These places are actually biblical. For those of you that don't know, most of you probably do. These are biblical places, and actually I've always wanted to visit them as well. But the imagery that the West puts out about these countries, you know, Africa, Iran, a lot of places, paints a picture. And that picture in your head isn't one of opportunity, isn't one of wealth, isn't one of well-being, isn't one of safety.
Safety, right?
When in our own doorstep on the West, people are just getting shocked because people are going through mental health problems. And I think there's an element of what I love about what we do with the travelling, it's just opening yourself up to freedom.
Oh, and that's what this journey for me is about. It's always been about freedom, and freedom from the inside out. So part of it is freeing my mind, the inner work, you know, letting go of all of that societal conditioning, but also being able to create a life where actually I have the freedom and flexibility to come and go and do things at the drop of a hat. And it hasn't been easy because people see me and they're like, wow, you're so lucky. No, I'm not lucky. I made some decisions. I took some risks.
I think every entrepreneur hates that expression. How many of you, please do put it in the chat, have been told you're lucky? Not that you worked hard, not that you put yourself in front of opportunity, not that you're a go-getter, not that you've got grit, tenacity, and you can get it done. You're lucky.
Honestly. And sometimes it's really quite frustrating. You know? I had to make some serious choices, put myself into some serious situations, take some serious risks, and not knowing what was on the other side. And I feel like that's life as far as I'm concerned. It is life. And somehow, you know, we've kind of restricted ourselves from that. And so we end up being stuck, right? Going back to the stuckness.
And you're not sure where to go.
You know? And if you've got an idea where you want to go, you're like, I'm scared. Like, I'm not used to this. This is so outside of my comfort zone.
So it sounds like COVID came.
Yes.
You felt like this is the opportunity for me to actually just start my own business. Although you were in a really successful position, you had a brilliant career, you kind of live in life. And within that time, it sounds like traveling is what freed you. And that's where you found your passion. Because one of the things that I found in our community is lots of women that come in wanting to start a business for the money. And the problem is when you're starting a business for the money, and don't get me wrong, that money's going to change a lot of people's lives around you. So nobody's saying that that's a wrong thing to do. But the problem in business when you do that, if you're not fueled by passion, it becomes a drag. Like when it's not working, when it's not going right, and then you'll have people telling you, I told you so, this is what I mean, it shouldn't have been for you, and then you'll feed into that, listen to that, and you're back in that realm of, you know, double guessing yourself, the imposter syndrome. So passion is something that will always pull you through. So it sounds like you found your passion and your freedom in COVID through the travelling. So what was next after that?
So I found my passion, my freedom, and I found myself, and I'm still finding myself because I feel like, you know, whilst I was living sort of in the corporate world, I had lost who I was truly. Like I kind of had all these layers and expectations and having to act and show up in a certain way, and I'd lost who I was at my essence. And so for me, what I knew is that one, I wasn't happy in my role. Two, it wasn't about just going to get another job. It was really about, okay, you can see what's happening out there in the world, like people are dying, right?
Yeah.
Life is short. Tomorrow isn't promised to any of us. So what am I going to do? Am I going to take a chance and actually follow my heart and literally say, you know what, what's the worst thing that can happen? And so, that ended up being what I did. And so I used, I didn't just leave my job. Of course, I was being strategic about how I could do this and really wanted to make sure that I had things lined up. So
I think a lot of people don't realise that, by the way. I bootstrapped my business. All the training, coaching, consulting, some of you might see me doing on LinkedIn. A lot of that is bootstrapping to build a community that I can serve my audience more. So I completely get it. And I think people don't realise how common that is. The people who have got sideline hustles, don't give up. Don't feel like it's a hobby. Don't let anybody else make you feel like it's a little hobby that you're just doing on the side, because it can grow and it will grow. It's just, I think for me, what changed was working strategically. That's what I wasn't doing. I think you've made me realise today, it wasn't that I wasn't working strategically. In the beginning, I was finding myself. So I wasn't in the mindset to work strategically, so I didn't really, understand it. It's almost like wishing on a star. I get up every day, I do my miracle in the morning, I do it, I turn up, I show up, and I give it my 100%. So I always thought that was what was going to pull me through. Not necessarily. You need that, most definitely, but you've made me realise today that's why strategy didn't come until later on. I was actually finding myself. And that's brilliant. For me, like, as you said, and you're not intentionally doing this, but that is what's happening. For me, that is the foundation. We all have our aspirations, and part of what I do too is coach. And, a lot of these women have aspirations, they're going through a transition, and there's this beautiful dream that they have, but we have to go right back to the very foundation of, so this is really all about you. Let's get you ready, because you're going to have ups and downs, highs and lows. It's the journey. It's a beautiful, crazy journey, right? And so you've got to have yourself prepared for knockbacks. There's going to be failure, and failure's okay. Like, failure's fine, because the only way you're going to learn is through failure. So you're not be fooled that it's through a PhD or anything else. You're going to have to do the experience, and you're going to have to mess up. You're going to have to make mistakes. And that's when you start to get it right, when you start embracing that.
Exactly, and recognise that at times you have to kind of say, who's this chatting? Is this my ego? Like, okay, shut you down a little bit here. Like,
so, actually, I want to talk about this. Akua, the ego. It's so funny that you brought this up. So my husband, every 2 seconds, that's the ego talking. It's the ego. And it's got to the point that I actually don't think I even understand, like, when this apparent ego kicks in on that. Could you explain to us and me, like, what is it with the ego? Because the ego seems to get involved in a lot of things, and sometimes I can't figure out, is it the ego? Is it my own mind? Is it? Am I being... Because when you say ego, it's a negative word for me. So I think of a bigot. I think of someone that loves themselves too much, those really negative connotations. But I keep hearing this lately, and I do know, but I'm going to ask.
My opinion, I feel like the ego has got a bad rap. I think we all need to have ego. Ego is a part of who we are.
Don't we?
Right? But I feel like sometimes it's about, like, just kind of checking our ego a little bit. And
I need to check myself.
And that's it, because you kind of know, something tells you all in a minute. And that could be subtly your heart telling you that your ego is kind of getting the better of this thing. Because for me, the heart is the intuition. The heart is the compass. For me, my belief is that we are guided by our heart. But I guess we've been brought up in a society where you've got to use your mind.
Yeah, the logic.
So it's the logic, and then it comes down to overthinking. Then it's like, well, a pattern of programming, because actually this is what I'm supposed to believe. When you kind of let go of all of that, and it takes time, because this is conditioning of years and years and years, to kind of unravel that and actually be guided by this, it shifts everything.
Okay.
So much.
That's really interesting.
Because really,
like, this year, I've really been trying to lead from a place of love. So if I'm angry, if something's fearful to me, anything that's a negative emotion, I think to myself, how can I lead with love? That's hard.
It's very hard.
Because there are times where I don't feel like people in situations deserve my love.
For human beings, right? We're not going to be perfect, but the fact that you're aware of it.
Yeah, and I have seen a big shift.
Yeah.
I have seen more things in terms of visualization, in terms of manifestation. I've seen things dramatically change since I've been leading from a place of love. There are times that I'm like, nah, remember? Don't go there. And I'm thinking, that's the ego, isn't it? The ego is the one that wants me not to lead with love. Exactly. So why did no one just explain it to me like that?
Absolutely love it. What I'm hearing from you is just that awareness.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the absolute key. We're not supposed to be perfect at all.
I think life is a journey of striving to keep being a better person.
Yeah. If we could be aware,
It's
game changer.
It does follow through.
Yeah.
So within this travelling, so when did it actually happen when you said, bye-bye corporate?
Word. So first of all, I kind of manifested a few things, and I was now in this comfortable, cozy bubble of working from home, which I liked. I didn't like the idea of having to at some point return to the office. So I remember saying to myself, I'm not going back to the office. I didn't know how that would transpire, but I just said, I'm not going back to the office. I don't want to. And I never did. Never did. And for me, it was the year of 50. I am 53.
She looks fabulous. 50 and fabulous.
And that for me was the I'm 50. Like, I'm at this crossroads in my life right now. Although for some people, they think that 50 is like on the down low. For me, this decade has been
It's got to count.
best decade of my life. Yeah. Seriously, like, I'm living my best life right now. I am living my best life. And so one of my things that I want to remind women is, well, it's never too late. Because there's a sense, again, of getting to a certain age and, oh, it's too late.
But do you know, I don't think a lot of people know, do you know most successful, wealthy entrepreneurs actually become wealthy in their mid-40s to late 50s? And we were speaking before we came on camera today. It takes on average for you to be an expert at anything 10 years. So this ideology of I'm going to start something and within 3 months and 12 months I'm going to go from a minus and a zero to 7 figures is unrealistic. And it can be done, but I'll tell you what happens when it is done. You don't serve your audience. This is where I feel like, a lot of damage to what we do is being done in the coaching and consulting sector. Because there's a lot of people out there that's like, follow this rule, follow that. If you follow me, you can get here in 6 months. They charge huge amounts of money, and you can't follow somebody else's journey. You have to find your own. So it's the whole coaching. I feel like our sector's been a bit tarnished, if that makes any sense.
For sure.
You have to be able to serve your audience. To serve your audience and actually say that you're an expert and not make false claims. It takes its time.
Yeah.
It takes its time.
Absolutely. I think patience has been my biggest teacher during this whole process. Because again, there's this kind of ideal that this is how things are going to kind of map themselves out. Everything's going to go great. And I had setbacks. I've had setbacks, and I probably will continue to have those setbacks. But again, because of my mindset, it's like, okay, this is just a bit of an obstacle. I can work my way across it, over it, below it, whatever, through it, and I'm still here.
That you most definitely are. So I want to ask next, where was your first trip?
Oh my gosh! So first trip that I took myself.
You took other people on.
Right. So I would have said one of my first trips would have been Ethiopia.
Wow.
And for me, and this was like a small group of friends to begin with. So it wasn't like I'd kind of gone out there. This was just friends that have seen each other.
So again, you're building yourself up, and you're actually building a framework and a template. What you've done is you've actually just got people that you know.
Absolutely.
Because there's a book by Jay Abraham. Obviously, I've got a marketing background, and it's called Using Everything You've Got. Remember I told you about the memory? Something to that effect. I'll put it in bio. But that's a book that I've read about 2-3 times. It teaches you to use what you've got. Because sometimes we're so busy trying to spend money and get advice and attach ourselves to things and people that we think is going to elevate us and help us. We're not actually just looking in our own back garden.
Yeah.
So I actually, that took me a while to figure out. You actually did that. You did that naturally to start off with.
And for me, it made sense because, people knew that I travelled a lot. Like, and I think about my Instagram handle, Travelicious 2021, right? So I was kind of taking people on these journeys with me through my own social media. And, a lot of people were inspired by that. And a lot of people said, I'd love to come with you. So that's kind of where it started. It's okay, let's get a little group
It
together.
really started as your own personal brand.
Oh,
People
absolutely.
that know you, know, like and trust you.
Exactly.
Was quite happy to say, okay, we're going on a trip. And sometimes I think we don't start off small enough. We want to get to the big time so much. It's like we want to jump all the steps in between.
Absolutely. And I've learned along the way, even in some of the places that I've wanted to go where actually it hasn't happened. And for me, it was almost like a huge, like, initially it was kind of like, if this doesn't happen, oh my God, this retreat doesn't go ahead, oh my God. And it didn't go ahead, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I'm still here. Like, okay, what did I learn from that, right? What did I learn? What am I going to do differently? And a lot of that also was ego.
The ego again.
I've got to check them down. But yeah, Ethiopia, for me, I say Ethiopia because Africa is my most travelled continent. By far. You and I have had this conversation. It's like our souls, there's just this different energy, this different feeling, and, to kind of be able to connect with, people who look like us, right?
I mean, as you know, it's one of the reasons I made it some people call it bold. And I thought, well, is it bold? Obviously, our community is called Women into Digital Business because with other communities, they don't say this is like a white community or this is like a male over 50 white male community that usually directors. I'm just saying they wouldn't have to use that word to identify themselves. So that was one of the reasons why I thought I'm not going to put that it's for black women in the title of our business. But actually, Women into Digital Business, I did niche down into black women just because of the experiences that I've been through as a black woman, and just trying to help others not have to repeat some of the mistakes that I did. But one of the things that I struggled with, that I just think your community is brilliant for, you're right, that ego, a lot of it is programmed into you.
Yeah,
and I definitely feel like even within business, I lost myself for a little bit, by the way, because I'm going to all, these community talks, I'm going to networking, I'm investing in myself and turning up at all these conferences, going to all these coaches. And when I'm trying to explain to them what I want to launch and what I want help with, I'm just getting back their own template, which is for an audience that is mainly of white women. And there's nothing wrong with that. This isn't about, race or anything like that. I wanted a community for my own. So when I started following you and saw you traveling in Africa, it just struck a chord with me. And then I think you were one of the people that probably encouraged me to say, you know what, stand up and just say, it's black women, it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't make you a racist. I mean, you just get cancelled so easily nowadays. Let's face it. You can say the slightest little thing that offends a group, and that's just it. You can be shut down. So I think the importance of understanding who I am is what led me here. And I think that's definitely the synergy between us. I struggled a long time, Akua, of trying to figure out my place in this world as a black woman. Sitting in the boardroom, you put a pretense on. Get up, you dress for work every day, I'm putting a pretense on.
The mask, the armor, everything.
I'm talking, when I'm at work, not even the dye net changes, even the tone changes.
I hear you.
You want to get upset, you don't want to be the angry black woman. So you compress the feelings and emotions. And it's just constant. You go to the school, within the school that my kids are in, they're a minority there. And it's just about being able to be proud of who you are, know who you are, and actually you've got your own go-to. So I'm definitely going to be coming on one of your trips because I do want to explore Africa more. I think Africa is on the rise. I think it's a place for commerce. I think it's a place for us to find out about our ancestry. I think it's got so much healing properties, mentally, physically, that we don't know about, we haven't been educated about. So please tell us a little bit more about the travellings in Africa and what you and some of your clients have got out of travelling in Africa.
I mean, what I also want to say to what you've just said as well is really around, for me, there are 3 core pillars that run across my business and my retreats and my coaching. Courage, adventure, and authenticity.
Love it.
And for me, I'm on this journey of still, digging deep to my core, because when you talk about showing up in the workplace as an example, I think about that as an onion, like all this stuff layering around us, right? That's been like layered. So we've forgotten who we are, right?
You're almost trapped like you're in a white coat with the onion just wrapped around you.
Absolutely. So now I'm on this journey of unbecoming, where I'm unwrapping all of that.
I feel like that opposite to Michelle Obama. She's becoming and you're unbecoming. I love it.
Because I'm like, all that stuff, that's not me. That's not me. That's how I was told I should show up in the world. And I think for me, going and spending time, in a place that I know my ancestors are from, helps me to come back to self somewhat, you know, to help me kind of understand a little bit about who I am at my core. And I just want people just to see just the beauty of Africa, like the diversity of Africa.
Yeah.
And you know, let me just remind people as well, Africa is not a country, it's a continent. I'm just putting that out there.
And it hasn't got the images that they show you on Google, on the television, the media, and that's something that I find quite upsetting. The first time I went to Ghana,
Ghana is just...
yeah, and obviously we've got a Jamaican heritage and background. If someone had dropped me in Ghana, actually I would have thought I was in Jamaica.
Yeah.
That's the God's honest truth. When I'm seeing images of Ghana on the television, you're just seeing the markets, the extreme poor. There's poverty everywhere. There's hope. There's places we can take people to London if we want to paint London in a bad light.
And that's it. I think it's really about somewhere along the line, you know, Africa as a continent just became this place where it's really about the media showcasing poverty, violence, and all these different things. And for me, it's the most beautiful continent on the planet. I mean, when I think about the diversity of that place, and Ethiopia is always my example. I've been there 4 times.
Oh, wow.
And I'm ready to go back again as I go to Botswana in September. I'm going to stop a few days in Addis Ababa and go out and explore, because people, the landscape, the spirituality, there's something that you feel when you're there.
Yeah.
And the history.
The history is...
So we've lost it as you know, as...
Well, we're a part of the history,
Yeah.
we don't know it.
Exactly.
We're actually living and breathing. You know, if you are from the Atlantic slave trade, understand that you started off in Africa. There's no getting out of that.
Absolutely.
We got lost along the way, obviously, you know, sold off where mums, dads, daughters, nephews, we never went anywhere together. So I've always felt that missing piece of history.
Feeling as well. It's like honestly going back feels like, wow, I'm part of something so much more bigger.
Yeah.
You know, and we live in a world, unfortunately, where everything is divisive, it's divided. To feel this connection to not just a country but a whole continent is, for me...
Yeah, and it's historical, you're right. Because I think for me, I kind of look at it like, for you to go through that much trouble to keep a group of people down, wow, we must be good. To go through that much effort. There are think tanks that think, like we have watched... Not to Stray went to the African American History Museum that Michelle Obama put together in Washington DC, and it's on all these different floors. Yeah, and you'll start off at the bottom floor where it's like slavery, us being separated, us being shipped out. Then us building up different countries across, you know, globally across the world with all the colonies, and it's really funny as you go through it. It becomes really actually heart-wrenching. I even saw tears come to my mum's eyes when you get to the 70s and you start seeing the streets being flooded with drugs. Then you get to the 90s and you see the type of music that's being released and flooding the streets. There are many different things from physical all the way through to emotional that have been thought about in great depth of how you're going to keep a group of people down. And if those group of people are that strong, that makes me proud to be a black woman. It's as simple as that. I'm taking that as a strength. It's not a weakness.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, for me, it's also... You know, taking women to Africa, there's something special, particularly if it's black women, you know, there's just something special about that, because it really is about connecting. Like you said, there's almost like something's missing.
Yeah.
And it opens up so much in terms of like your worth and your value, and recognizing, okay, I'm not just, you know, I don't have this legacy of my ancestors being enslaved. Way before that, I come from kings and queens and riches and intelligent, like, but it's all there, and that was the reason, as you know, you want to keep some nation down, because you know.
And it is important, and it's funny. I was speaking about before in my last podcast. There's something that happens that's magical when black women get into a room together and we're on the same page.
Yeah.
And it's funny that we're marketed as women don't support women, and sometimes I feel like that's propaganda. I don't believe that's true, because when I meet other black women who are in business, there's this magic and this connection and this energy that we have. And if you put a networking event on and you do something that's all in it, it almost feels like it's a room full of superheroes.
Yeah.
If we're brought together, we can achieve anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, so for me, there's a lot of pride when I see black women come together. Like, I really do, because I know the struggle is real, you know, and the struggle goes back generations. You know, there's been a lot, you know, I think about our parents, you know, getting here from Jamaica and what they had to go through, and then think about our grandparents. It's a lot. So to be at this point in time where We're kind of changing that narrative. We are empowering one another, we're supporting one another. And we are just doing some phenomenal things. We're change makers,
We are
bold,
change.
we're getting out there now. And sometimes you need that motivation, you need that mentorship. Like, you want to see another woman there and like, how does she do it? And she then gives you a hand.
You lift her up and you take a hand and lift everybody up as well.
Beautiful.
So within the trips that you've done, what would you say the women get out of it most?
So I feel like there's a couple of aspects. One is a real kind of sense of self. And when I say that, that is that opportunity to be, not to use the wrong word. So that is an opportunity for self-care. And I feel like, when we were speaking earlier, we talked about all of these roles that women play and all of the hats that you wear and the expectations and all of the things that you have to juggle and do. You're not giving time to yourself. So a lot of the women that I take on these trips, it's the first time they've been away without family. And so there is this element of this feels weird. And I say, that's great. I want it to feel weird. I want to take you out of your comfort zone. I want to take you into the unfamiliar.
Yeah. And you just get to focus on yourself.
Exactly. And within that time, there's time for them in terms of just journaling. Because I know it's so powerful. So I've created a journal to help, give them sort of time to go inwards. And for me, that's the beauty, is this inner journey, that they've given something back to themselves for the first time.
Yeah.
For me, the second thing is definitely connection. And when I say connection, it's not just the people that are traveling together, but the communities that we are coming into contact with. So again, for me, I'm not just doing, a bog standard retreat with yoga and stuff. This is all about a cultural experience. I want you to see where you're at. I want you to engage and connect with the women. I want you to hear their stories, and not from a place of pity, but actually you can learn so much from these women that we're going to meet in this place. Their stories of resilience and how, they have, through very, very little, been able to kind of succeed.
And that changes you, I think. Like, even this week, I was struggling this week. It's like been a really busy week, and sometimes I get overwhelmed. Yeah. And then the hurricane hit the Caribbean. And when I saw that, let me tell you something, it put my arse back in shape. Yeah, perspective is everything. But it's kind of like, there's people that just like lost all their homes, their personal belongings, their livelihood. And it does put you into perspective. There's a humbleness that overwhelms you, that it almost feels like God's touching your soul. It's the only way that I can really explain it. And that's what that sounds like to me. Yeah.
We're all in our little bubbles, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to limit people's problems and say your problem is only 2% in that problem. But just to give perspective, and they see that, I don't even have to tell them this. They open their eyes and they say, you know what? What I was complaining about, in the scheme of things, is nothing. Yeah. So they take this kind of real sense of humility, but also a sense of empowerment, because along the way we're doing adventures. So I'm creating these trips that will allow them to slightly step out of their comfort zone. I'm not asking women to climb Everest or anything like that, but I want them to do something that is a bit of an adventure in an aspect, because this is about pushing them out of their comfort zone a little bit. Because for me, the goal is for them to come home feeling pretty empowered, saying, if I can do that,
I can do
anything. I did it. I doubted myself, but I did it. And that is almost just like fuel to kind of keep going. And when they think about where they're at in life and apply that, it's that momentum that they need.
And it's really funny that you say that. I think for those of you that are really looking to build a community or have a digital product or build a membership site, listen to what we're saying about communities. Like, you'll hear people say, get leads, get an email marketing list. It's about having an audience that you're going to serve. Because if you're authentic and you've got that passion and you want to serve people, you want to draw people into your community, because at your very core, and you believe you can change their lives. The minute you stop serving them, you're not going to be building a community. You're going to be building an audience. Absolutely. And there's a very clear difference between the two. An audience and leads is just you collating anyone. I want the traffic, I want to make the money and the mass. And yes, there's a business element of the mass that you're going to need a certain amount of people to make a certain amount of money to have a profit. I'm not rubbishing that. But what I am saying is, when you're thinking about building a community, it's about having authentic relationships. And these are why these places keep inviting you back. You're building communities with the places you're going to visit and changing their lives. And you're building really meaningful relationships with your clients and your community. And I just feel like it's because you're genuine and there's a clear connection.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, it's really about kind of just letting go of expectations a lot of the time, and going with a very open mind and not trying to preempt what the outcome's going to be.
Yeah.
And you know, most importantly, it is about being authentic. And I know that, you know, sometimes shifting from an employee to an entrepreneur, starting your own business, there is a level of imposter syndrome and all of that kind of stuff.
It's real.
And, you know, and that's why, as I say, it goes back to that kind of foundation, because it does take time for you to really kind of say, you know, this is me. This really is me.
And accept me.
And accept
So
me.
I love the Mary J. Blige. Fine, I'm just fine. Like I like when I see me looking at me when I'm walking past the mirror. Do you know how long? I can't sing. We might have to edit that out. But do you know how long it took me to get to that place where I thought, actually, I'm fabulous, and I can say it and kind of embrace it without it being the ego. It is.
So
And that is one of the things that I picked up on. I think as women, especially black women, we have spent centuries serving our own community and bringing up the next generation, making sure that we can be there for our men. That's the role that women play. So don't worry, any men, if you're listening to this, I'm not looking for a pity party. But I do think finding a place for yourself in this day and age has become really important to make sure that you can actually grow. And for me, it just sounds like there's just so much women would get out of doing.
Oh my gosh.
You know, whether it's being coached by you, whether it's going on one of your retreats, there's so much they've learned about themselves. It's going to help their mindset and make it clear on their journey. Yeah. And just have that self-love and self-care. Yes. It just seems like you've created a place where you can actually just go. And it's just about you. It's not about anything else attached to you other than you, and just being able to explore. What do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want to do? What do you want to achieve? Where do you want to be? Not where your family thinks you should be. Not where money dictates you should be.
Yeah.
Because it's really difficult. So that does lead me to, we need to do a trip.
Oh.
I think we need to do a trip. I think we need to do a trip on being able to have that self-love, that self-care, being able to learn more about ourselves and your culture, being able to tap into Akua's coaching skills of just learning more about yourself and being able to catch your dreams. But at the same time, learning about commerce.
Yes.
You see, Africa is a great place for commerce, especially Ghana. So a lot of the countries that you've been to, one of the things that I didn't realise from before, they're all countries that have been exploited and continue to be exploited.
Yes.
Meaning, when we're drinking our cups of coffee, when we've got our chocolate and the cocoa beans or where they're coming from, we don't think of the food supply chain beyond the supermarket. And actually, when you think about all these big countries, they're going into these countries and they are taking resources and bringing them back to the West, whether it's diamonds, whether it's coffee, you know, whether it's cacao and it's chocolate. And trade and commerce is, we talk about diversity all day long. Diversity's blown up. But yet, when we're talking about that level, you will not see any form of diversity. And actually, when I'm in Ghana, I'm just seeing things taken for the taking. We kind of need to go back to grassroots. I think the transatlantic slave trade, many of us are ancestors of it, and now in a position to revisit these countries where they could nurture our business and help grow us. But actually, there are some big investment opportunities that if we don't take, I think you all know who's going to take them.
Absolutely.
Because it won't be us. And I feel like there's a window of opportunity, and I think Ghana's offering that window of opportunity to say, come and invest, and there's some great investment opportunities. It's almost like a dragon's den playing ground in Ghana that actually is affordable for many of us from the Atlantic slave trade that live in the West.
And we're being invited, you know?
They're being invited.
The door's
being open. The Ghanaian president has said, come along, come. So I would love to do a joint trip where we could find out about ourselves more culturally, tap into who we are, give women their strength back, understand why they exist.
Love it.
But at the same time, look at some business opportunity and embrace Africa and understand that actually it's at the peak of commerce. We've watched China do it in 40 years.
Love it.
Okay, and Africa is on that same route. So I think we definitely need to
that. That's the whole kind of like a beautiful timeline of, let's start with journey to self. Let's do that inner work. And let's talk about success and how we can then serve. And from there on, there's a whole just knock-on effect. You know?
Big knock-on effect. So any of you interested, please let us know that you're interested in the chat below. Our handles will be out there. But for 2025, we are going to plan a retreat.
It's happening.
A mindset retreat in Africa, and also a business retreat. Joined by
Yes.
Akua and myself, Natalia. And I would love nothing
Amazing.
more. Yeah, I would love absolutely nothing more than that. But I do feel like what you're doing is absolutely amazing. I feel like it's needed and it's necessary. I feel like for me, the finding yourself as a woman and then mixing it up with the cultural experiences is, I just feel like it's life changing. You know, even the journey that I go on, I get to pass that back down to a younger generation where we both help different camps, different orphanages, different people.
Absolutely.
That's the younger generation. Those are the women that are coming up now. Yeah, you have to pay it forward. But do tell us also, when is your next trip? Please tell our audience, when is the next trip?
So my next trip is going to be outside the motherland, but it's still a beautiful, magical place, the Himalayas in India. I have a trip that's coming up for 12 amazing women in October, the end of October. It's half full and
not for long though.
Not for long.
Not for long.
I've
seen those numbers.
There's 5 spaces left actually out of the 12, so it's over half full. And I haven't actually been doing much promo on that, so now it's getting out there. You better look into this really quickly.
And make sure you share. If you know, as women, we often like, you know, going on trips. I don't know about any of you guys, but I swear, since I've got to 40, this is what I love doing. A good brunch. A good spa trip or any other trip that's about, you know, 7 days long with the girls. And that's what life has come about in terms of enjoying myself. So for any of you that are interested, please do make sure that you share. It's really important in our community that we support one another and lift one another up. And as this podcast grows, the women, should I say, that you see on here are absolutely authentic and they have gone through a real journey. And actually on that note, one of the things that I would like to ask you as well is, what would you say like your biggest struggle and challenge was? I always ask that question to every guest.
Honestly, my biggest struggle goes back to the fact of I didn't know who I was. So really kind of battling with, you know, okay, I'm doing something, but I need to figure out who I am. Now I recognize that, you know, at that point in time where I was no longer fulfilled, I recognized that I almost looked in the mirror and said, who are you? Like, you've lost yourself. Like now you've become like this, I don't know, sheep, and you're now instructed to do all of these things despite your status. You know, you're being told what needs to get done. And so for me, really allowing myself that space and time to do that inner work, to start to love me for who I am, to accept me. So self-love, self-acceptance was really the game changer. Because then when you know who you are,
you become more confident in yourself. And you definitely become more comfortable. And I care less what people think of you, just like that. I really do. I give zero.
It's not my business. It's not my business. It's not my business. It takes a while to get there because, you know, I was concerned in the past of what people would say and judgment and all of that. And, you know, you get to a beautiful point in life where it's just like, that's your opinion.
And actually, ladies, you just don't need to share what you're doing with everyone.
Exactly.
As you grow, you build a circle of trust.
So you can find me on Instagram, Travelicious2021. That's my personal account, by the way, but I want you to see me as I am, you know, the real authentic me. I've got a business account, Dreamcatcher Journeys, again that's Instagram, and also have my website, which is www.dreamcatcherglobal.co, and you can also find me on LinkedIn, but I think we'll probably put some of those in the bio, right?
Most definitely will be in the bio, so please do make sure that you follow, you sign up, and you keep yourself updated. It's all about hashtag self-care and self-love and Black women power. So ladies, if you haven't, please make sure you join our free community open access. There's so much in there. There's masterclasses about funding, how to pitch. We've got so much going on. Lunch and Learns coming up. We've got a big online summit that starts in January. And do not forget to sign up. I think with this, I'm going to put a wait list. So there's a link that goes with this video in the bio to the wait list for our up and coming trip.